Well, let's bring in the leader of the NDP now, Jagmeet Singh, for his reaction to the budget. Mr. Singh, good to see you again.
Thank you.
As part of your agreement to support the Liberals, you already had an early briefing on the budget, so there shouldn't really be any surprises here for you. So does it meet the demands you negotiated with the minority Liberals in your deal to keep them in power?
So we made a deal to use our power to get help to people. People needed help given how difficult things have been. And what we were able to obtain in the agreement was reflected in the budget. Help to get people their teeth fixed. So dental care, starting with children under 12, and real investments in housing that we fought for, increasing the amount of housing, changing the definition of what is affordable, and a top-up of $500 for some of the Canadians who need help the most, with a Canada Housing Benefit increase of $500. So real help to people, that's important, and that's why we are in a position to acknowledge that our agreement has been met. Okay. And we're still going to oppose and critique things that we don't agree with, like the government's approach to the environmental crisis, the climate crisis that we're up against. We think we should end fossil fuel subsidies. They've increased them. We also think we should be increasing transfers to healthcare generally. That's not in there. So there's things that we will continue to raise as concerns, but there's significant support for Canadians in this difficult time, and that's meaningful, and we'll be supporting that.
Okay, let's circle back to some of those things. The National Pharmacare Act, there's a mention of it in the budget with a promise of to introduce an act and have that act passed by the end of 2023, I think it is. Is that the timetable you negotiated, and are you satisfied with that?
That is our timetable. We want to bring in things in a responsible way. This year we're focused on getting the dental care program started, and so we're putting all our emphasis on that. It's reflected in the budget. In our agreement, the Pharmacare Act, the Canada Pharmacare Act, would be passed in 2023, so that's in line with the timelines that we've set up. And we'll continue to push hard to make sure that those are delivered. We know that this will take us continually pushing and fighting to make happen, but so far our agreement is being honored.
The carbon capture tax credits, you touched on it. It's part of the Liberal emissions reduction plan. It's now supported by the budget. There was a nod to it in the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in their latest report. You oppose tax credits for carbon capture technology. How come?
Well, one, we think public dollars are very precious and they should go towards workers, or they should go towards investing in the clean energy of the future, not towards profitable oil and gas companies. So we're in favor of eliminating fossil fuel subsidies. Instead of eliminating them, the government has gone and increased them. So we think that's the wrong approach. We think that carbon capture technology is also questionable. It's not clear it can achieve our goals, and putting so much public dollars behind it is the wrong decision, and we don't support that.
I guess that raises the question of whether maybe you could have got a better deal. Because if you don't support these things, your argument is that there's money going to those things that you think could have been better spent on social spending, different kind of spending. So I guess why not hold out for more?
This is a Liberal government, and the Liberal governments are in power. This is not a new Democrat government nor a new Democrat budget. What we did in a minority government is use our power to get help to people. And so we're going to continue to get the help that people need. There's things that we disagree on. The agreement outlines that there will be disagreements. And on those things we disagree on, we'll fight and we'll push for better action, better steps taken, and that's what we'll continue to do. We absolutely oppose the government's approach to the environment, and we'll continue to fight to make sure that they're doing more to fight the climate crisis.
There are also increases in defense spending. Do you believe that they are appropriate in terms of bolstering Canada's defense capability, or is that money that should have been spent somewhere else?
Well, we did acknowledge, and for a long time, that our armed forces are being sent to do work where they don't have the sufficient equipment to do it. And so we think that's a reasonable increase in terms of having enough personnel to do the work that's required. That's also an area where we understand it's important to have investments. Our armed forces were incredibly important in dealing with the crisis in long-term care homes, both in Ontario and in Quebec. So that's an important area. We would have liked to see humanitarian aid increase as well as international development. But those are some important investments. Given that the world is less safe, people are worried that we need to make some investments, and that's appropriate.
All right, NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh, thanks for your time tonight, sir. Take care.
Thank you, sir.